What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 23 My Team Career Mode, and we're here for round number 17 of Season 6 of our Jaguar Racing career, and it is time for the Qatar Grand Prix. Last time out we were in Japan, and for those of you who aren't familiar with this series, Japan, one of my strongest tracks on the F1 calendar. It may not surprise you to learn it went very well for us. We picked up another win, 2 wins in a row now. We won in the Singapore Grand Prix, of course, to make it our 7th win of the season, and we are leading the championship by a rather significant margin. We'll see the exact margin a little bit later on, but for now, just sorting out activities and all that kind of thing, and then we'll have a look at the R&D index. But generally, things going very, very well for us here. You know, we're doing well in our results. Our R&D is trending upwards. We're leading the drivers' championship. We're leading the constructors' championship. It doesn't look like we're maybe going to be taking a grid penalty this season, and even if we are, I don't think it's going to fundamentally make too much of a difference to our season as a whole. The only thing I'm looking at thinking we may have to take a penalty on that is the gearbox, because we are down to our final gearbox, but who knows, maybe it will just last long enough to the point we won't have to take a penalty for it. We're leading the driver standings by 91 points with only 6 races to go. Things are looking very well for us, and we lead the Constructors' Championship by over 100 points as well. So generally, I think that we are in maybe an even stronger position than we ever were last season. As long as we don't absolutely capitulate in these last few races, I can't see a world in which this doesn't go well for us. And I think that we stand to have a very successful season, maybe the most successful season in the history of the team. Obviously, we've never won the Constructors before. I won the Drivers last year, but having brought Charles Leclerc on board, he's basically done everything I needed him to. Yes, he's been a tad underwhelming for us, but if we win that Constructors Championship, I have to keep him on board, surely. How can you deviate from a winning formula? This is one of my biggest justifications for why Red Bull in real life should keep Sergio Perez on their books until they don't win the Constructors' Championship. Because if you're winning, and you're winning convincingly, which is what they've done 2 seasons in a row, why would you want to disrupt that? So yeah, we are going to operate under the same philosophy. As long as we continue on the trajectory we're on and win this Constructors' Championship, Charles Leclerc will be going absolutely nowhere, because he's delivered pretty much everything I need him to. I've delivered everything I would want to. We've managed to capitalize on the disappointing form of pretty much every driver in those sort of top teams that is capable of challenging for wins and for podiums, which is, at this stage of the season, I would argue it's probably us, Ferrari, Red Bull, McLaren, Mercedes, Aston Martin, and Williams actually is the other one. Yes, I know that the Williamses haven't got a win so far, but they definitely have looked relatively competitive. They've, got pole positions and started on the front row in a few races. I mean, even Fittipaldi started on the front row in the last race, and they bagged a few podiums over the last couple of years as well. So Williams, I would say, is probably an outside shout for wins and whatnot as the season has progressed. I think they still have a very good chance to do it with either Lawson or Fittipaldi, but we'll see how things unfold. Practice here actually went kind of okay for once. Our pace wasn't fantastic, but we didn't do a run on the soft, so it's hard to tell for certain how good our pace actually is around here. Only 4/10 slower than our teammate who did do a run on softs, though, is very encouraging, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to show some competitive pace as we make our way into qualifying now. I don't really know what the target is going to be here, because we typically go quite well here in qualifying. It's that our race pace is what lets us down, because in the race we tend to overheat the tyres, wear out the tyres, all that kind of thing. In Season 1, I remember we even had to do a 2-stop around here, which is almost unheard of on 50%, especially once you've got a few tyre wear upgrades on the car. It should never ever have to be a 2-stop. But yeah, it was just one of those races that it really, even doing a medium hard, didn't seem viable for us. So yeah, we do our first flying lap on a set of fresh soft compound tyres. It's a 118.9 already into the 118s, was very encouraging, and hopefully we can continue that going throughout the qualifying sessions that unfold here today. 4/10 up as we make our way around the final corner on our second flying lap on another fresh set of soft compound tyres. It's a 118.5, and that is good enough to take us and keep us in P1. So yeah, very happy with that, and hopefully we'll continue this form through to Q2 and Q3. Some other results here then, Albon and Norris rounding out the top 3, Leclerc just outside the top 3 in P4. Piastri, who's Leclerc's closest rival for P2 in the championship, only got 8th there, and knocked out Fittipaldi in the Williams, Verstappen in the Ferrari, Porsche, Vesti, Doohan and Stroll. So both Hasses out of the qualifying session there, and De Vries actually making it through in P13. Very impressive for a AlphaTauri driver. You know, the AlphaTauris have been the most uncompetitive car on the grid the whole season. I don't know if that's down to just having a couple of not particularly highly rated drivers, even when they have had a car that's a little bit more competitive. And for a long time as well, they've just had the least competitive car on the grid as well. So, yeah, impressive from De Vries to make it out of Q1 in any case, but a big disappointment for Verstappen not making it through. On a used set of tyres, we do a 119.4, which is okay, but we definitely, I think, will need to improve on that a little bit if we want to make it through to Q3. But actually we didn't, because we were P9 at the end of the session when everyone else had gone. So it's looking like we are going to be making it through, improving by just under a second here. It is going to be a 118.4, I think, in the end, and that is good enough not only to get us through, but to get us through in P1 once again. So we've been P1 in Q1, P1 in Q2. It's only right that in Q3 we're going to end up like P4 or something like that. But speaking of P4, that's where Leclerc ended up here. Piastri a lot closer to the front this time as well, and knocked out here in Q2. The other Ferrari of Perez, one of the Mercedes of Albon, Joe in the Alfa Romeo, both of the Red Bulls of Ocon and Russell, and De Vries in the AlphaTauri. So yeah, perhaps a few surprises there. Both Aston Martins making it through, the Alpine of Gasly making it through, Tsunoda in the Alfa Romeo. It really seems like you know, it's anyone's game to who's going to get on the podium, who's going to get the win. Really, I think pretty much every driver is capable of it as long as they're, you know, showing decent pace. I mean, we've had Doohan leading a Grand Prix this season. We've had Fittipaldi leading a Grand Prix this season, you know, in a Haas and a Williams. So who really knows what might unfold in these races? I think it all comes down to race pace ultimately. We did a 119.1 on a used set of soft compound tyres. I was pretty happy with that, and it guaranteed us at least P5. But we're actually improving again as we make our way through the final sector of our final lap. I don't know what the pole time is. I think it's Lando Norris on the top at the moment. So to dethrone our Season 4 and Season 5 rival, we're going to have to find quite a bit of improvement. Unfortunately, we've managed to do so with 2 purple sectors to kick things off, and we're up by 7/10. We crossed the line. It's not a purple final sector, but is it good enough? Yes, it is. Pole position here in the Qatar Grand Prix, and hopefully we'll be able to get a good result off the back of that.
With qualifying finished, it's time to remind ourselves of our top 3, Robinson, Norris and Charles Leclerc. Goodbye for now then, but we are really just getting started. Make sure you join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
I tell you what, Norris was a lot closer than I was expecting he would be. 1/10 behind me is actually a very good showing from the Mercedes driver. Leclerc got P3 in the end, which is pretty solid from him. And yeah, we're looking pretty hot to trot for a sprint weekend here. We've got 2 chances to score points, and hopefully we'll be able to capitalise on both of them as we make our way into the sprint for the Qatar Grand Prix.
Welcome to today's sprint. This is shaping up to be another fantastic weekend. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. Robinson lines up on pole position, edging out Lando Norris, who'll start from P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Leclerc, Liam Lawson, Hauger, Oscar Piastri, Magnussen, Tsunoda, Sargent, Gasly, Perez, Albon, Joe, Ocon, Russell, De Vries, Fittipaldi, Verstappen, Teo Porcher, Vesti, Doohan, and Lance Stroll brings the grid to a close. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We will soon find out. Joining me for today's race once again is Anthony Davidson. Joined once again by Anthony Davidson for this one. Ant, there's a lot of incidents on track recently for this driver. No one does that on purpose. It is part and parcel of racing, though.
It's not an ideal situation by any means. When you get into a bad run like that, there's always a risk of frustration creeping in. which can cause more mistakes and locks you into this vicious cycle. Hopefully today they can get through turn 1 cleanly and stay calm for the rest of the race.
Alright, well, here we are getting ready for the sprint, and it is looking like it's going to be mediums to the end. 10 laps here in the sprint. The softs maybe not capable of doing 10 laps. I'm not sure. I feel like the softs probably would be capable of doing just about 10 laps, or maybe 11 laps or something like that, but I can see that they would probably get very worn by the end. So a few people opting for the softs. We'll see if that pays off or whether they're going to go off towards the last few laps or not. And I think our medium should be absolutely fine though. I had a look, and they estimate that the softs will do about 16 laps around this circuit, and when you factor in our high tyre wear around here, it may be a little bit higher. But either way, we'll see what we can do as the lights come on and the lights go out. And we've had a good getaway compared to Norris and Leclerc. Norris having a shocking getaway. He's all the way down outside the top 5. Lawson, meanwhile, has made his way up a few positions, up to P2. So it's been a really good start from the New Zealander driver here. And who knows, maybe he'll be able to challenge us for the race lead as things go on. But for the time being, we're up here in P1. Lawson quite close behind us, less than 2/10 the gap to him. Leclerc trailing just behind him as well. Leclerc having a pretty average start. He managed to jump Norris, who I guess had a pretty poor start, but unfortunately he lost the position to Lawson on those superior tyres, the soft tyres. Hauger as well up to P4, so a good start for both of those guys. Lawson now piling some pressure on me into the final hairpin, but we just about managed to hang it around the outside of him, but we're wheel to wheel, and my car today is set up very much for the corners. I was trying to make sure that we didn't overheat the tyres by trying to set us up to be a little bit faster through the corners than we usually are, and that means that we are going to be very slow on that one main DRS straight. We are running something ridiculous like 50-46 wings or something like here, so yeah, we will see whether that proves to be a good decision or not. But in any case, Lawson has got ahead of us for the time being, and we might have to kiss goodbye to any chance of getting back ahead of him. Lap 2 we stay on, and this is Esteban Ocon in the Red Bull, and pulling off to the side of the road. He becomes the first retirement of the weekend, pulling up by the marshal's post. Should be no need for a safety car or anything like that. And immediately afterwards, at the start of lap 3, this is Alex Albon in the Mercedes, also pulling off to the side of the road, which means that at the same time we have 2 cars stopped on track. And I think you know what that means. It's going to be a red flag, and that means that basically any sort of strategy battle here has been completely neutralised, and Liam Lawson may have pulled a blinder here by starting on the softs. He'll be able to switch to another set of softs now, because the softs can definitely do 6 laps to the end of the sprint. And now it is just going to be a pure pace battle rather than anything else. There's going to be nothing to do with tyre strategies or anything like that. It is going to be a lot harder for us to grab the victory here. Before I was banking on Lawson's tyres maybe going off, but that is not going to happen anymore. And we are going to have to beat him on pure pace as the lights come on. And the lights go out, and we've had a good getaway compared to Lawson, who for some reason went onto medium compound tyres with only a few laps to go. I cannot fathom why he would have done that. The start has not gone well for him whatsoever, and I think he's fallen all the way down to something like P7 or P8, and we have a 1 second gap to our teammate just behind us with Dennis Hauger on those medium compound tyres as well. Surely he's going to start going backwards a little bit as well on the inferior compound of tyres compared to most of the drivers around. Norris and Magnussen, of course, on those soft compound tyres. Norris making a little bit of a recovery up to P3 as we make our way on the run into lap number 9. Speaking of people making their way into lap number 9 though, here comes Charles Leclerc absolutely blitzing his way past me as his soft compound tyre is working nicely for him. But we are going to attempt a bit of a switchback on him, see if we can hang around the outside of this next corner. But we go just a little bit too deep into the corner. The wing setup that I was running here today seems to be running very well for us through the corners. We have absolutely imperious pace compared to most of the cars around us. It's just in the straights we're struggling. We're fighting for our life to stay with the other cars. So it's kind of a double-edged sword here, in the sense that on the one hand we are very fast through the corners, and in that middle sector we are by far the fastest person on track. But in the straights we are suffering so much because of this lack of straight line speed. We have the DRS on Charles Leclerc, and this should be enough to keep Lando Norris behind, as we are going to cross the line to take P2.
Despite the best efforts of our championship leader, that lead has taken a bit of a knock today. So let's review the drivers' standings. Well, that wraps up Sprint. All that remains is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the Grand Prix tomorrow, so make sure you join us then. Welcome back to Qatar. Losail International Circuit is our venue, famous for races on two wheels through the years. Its F1 bow saw a Hamilton win. Who takes the flag today? Losail International was built for two wheels, but today we race on four. It's a fast, flowing track, 3.3 miles, 16 turns, just the one DRS zone, but it is a long straight, and you can expect overtaking. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole. And Robinson completes the front row. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Norris, Hauger, Magnussen, Oscar Piastri, Gasly, Fittipaldi, Sargent, Russell, Liam Lawson, Tsunoda, Doohan, Joe, Teo Porcher, De Vries, Vesti, Stroll, Verstappen, Perez, Albon, and Esteban Ocon lines up at the back of the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. And Anthony Davidson joins us for this one. And great to have your company. There's no weather to worry about here. What will be going through the drivers' minds as they finish these last-minute preparations?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the run down into turn one, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Starting from P2 here today, hopefully we will be able to challenge our teammate into turn one at the start. But you can see here the projected tyre wear for my personal kind of tyre wear factor is pretty high. So I'm hoping that these tyres will be able to do the full stint. According to my calculations, based on the tyre wear factor that I was displaying in practice, my mediums should be able to run about 14 laps, and we're taking them for 13, and likewise the hards should be able to run for about 16 laps, and we're taking them for 16. So these tyres are going to be absolutely done by the time that we're done, but hopefully the situation won't be as bad as that in reality. Hopefully that's a worst case scenario projection. In any case, we will find out what it is going to be like here in Qatar as we get ready and the lights come on. And the lights go out, and we've had a nice getaway here compared to Charles Leclerc. He seems to be a little bit slow, especially through the second phase. We are going wheel to wheel with him, but eventually the lack of downforce for him kicks in a little bit. However, through the corner, we are so strong. He has to take it so wide compared to us because he is struggling so much to get the car turned due to that lack of downforce, which works an absolute treat for us. However, here he comes again with that straight line speed. A mix of philosophies here at Jaguar Racing today, but which one will prevail? Will it be the Leclerc no downforce philosophy? Will it be my own high downforce philosophy? We will see which one prevails. For the time being, we had a little bit of a banging of wheels there. I think we've managed to both escape without any damage, but it seems to be me who is winning out for the time being. But we will see how things unfold over the course of the lap. We already get one track limits warning there, so we've got to be very careful not to get too many more. Otherwise it will be a penalty and a very anticlimactic situation that we find ourselves in this race. Magnussen, meanwhile, has made his way up to P3 on those soft compound tyres. He must be doing a soft medium or a soft hard. In any case, it is a bold strategy to be going about 12 or 13 laps on a set of softs. Norris and Hauger both starting on those medium compound tyres, and we will see who can win out on the tyre wear battle, really, because that's what it's going to come down to today. Leclerc mounting a bit more pressure on me, and I wouldn't be surprised if with that superior straight line speed he goes for a move down into turn one. Here he goes to the inside, makes his way back to the outside, and Leclerc has made his way through into P1. However, because of my such high downforce, we get the switchback on him and we retake the lead into the next corner, and that is how you set your car up for success here in Qatar, apparently. 50-46 wings, trust me, that is the way to go, apparently, here in career mode at least. And well, I am absolutely winning Lap 6 now was the next time that anything really happened after that. I managed to break away from Leclerc a little bit, but this is the Haas of Théo Pourchaire, who will be taking, unfortunately for him, no further part in the race. He decided to scare the AlphaTauris there a little bit by coming back onto the track unnecessarily, but he is out of the race and becomes the first retirement from the Grand Prix proper, the third retirement of the weekend. And here comes Charles Leclerc once again to the outside this time. Will I be able to do the switchback on him much like I did on lap 2? Let's see. It appears not. The tyres starting to wear out a little bit too much for that to really be a viable tactic anymore. However, we just have so much pace through the corners that it looked for a second like I was going to get a run on him, and then I remembered that the top speed of my car is about 200 miles an hour today. So yeah, it is not going to be easy to close him down. But eventually on lap 10 we do manage to get a bit of overspeed on him and send it to the outside of the first corner. However, he just about manages to muscle us out of making the move. But in the next corner up the inside, we are so vastly superior to him, even with tyres that are worn by over 40% at this point. I think they should be able to make it to the pit stop phase with no problems. But, I mean, man, this is a great scrap with Charles Leclerc at the moment. I don't know who was going to win out in this one, but it does look ever more convincingly like this is going to be a Jaguar 1-2. Whoever wins it, it will be a legendary battle between the two of us, and hopefully we can pick up the victory to edge ever closer to that second Drivers' Championship victory in a row. But yeah, the 1-2 here would be fantastic because it would almost certainly cement our constructors fight as well. Leclerc did mount a bit more pressure on me into lap 11 there, but I managed to withstand it, and then nothing happened for the rest of the stint. I came in lap 13, Leclerc staying out probably 1 or 2 more laps just to make sure that we don't double stack. I'm surprised that he didn't get the pit stop priority, given that he was the driver who actually started the race ahead, but I don't know if it's based on quali form or where you're starting in the race. Either way, Leclerc staying out, me coming in on lap 13, and we are one of the first cars on the grid to stop, I believe. However, there is a few cars here who I think are yet to stop, like Piastri here, who's making his way through. I think that he is legitimately in this position now, so this could be net P2 for Piastri if he's pulled off this undercut on Charles Leclerc, who still hadn't boxed on lap 15, but I was assuming he'd probably come in at the end of this lap. Gasly had a spin there, managed to get the car corrected, but that enabled us to get past him. He hasn't boxed yet, so ultimately doesn't make too much of a difference. And yeah, as we make our way towards the end of lap 16 now, this is when Leclerc and Hauger eventually came in, and that has got to be considered a blunder for those guys, because that's so late to come in. That's 3 laps later than we came in, 4 laps later than Piastri. Is it any surprise that the likes of Piastri, Norris, Verstappen and Magnussen have undercut Charles Leclerc? Leclerc eventually does fight back against Magnussen, gets himself back into P5, but still, I mean, goodness me, if he'd have boxed on lap 14, he could have stayed ahead of pretty much all of those guys. Maybe not Piastri, but definitely all of the other ones. Lap 19 now, we're looking at Kevin Magnussen. He's had a spin as well, and that is in a very, very dangerous position, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's a safety car or even maybe a red flag. And indeed, it is a red flag, our second red flag of the weekend, and all of a sudden this tyre battle becomes absolutely meaningless. I hope that stupid pit stop strategy was worth it, Charles Leclerc, because now you're actually just in P5, and well, we will see whether he can make up some positions at the start of the race. We're going to be going on to a set of softs to the end of the race, 9 laps. I had a quick look at the projected tyre wear on this tyre, and it seemed like it was pretty high, but it should last for these last few laps, and we will see what we can do once again as the lights come on and the lights go out nice and quickly this time. Piastri for company on the front row. Is he going to mount a challenge on me on the same compound of tyres on the run down to turn 1? If he doesn't, Norris just might. It's wheel to wheel between myself and the Australian, but that superior downforce through the corner helping me to navigate it nice and cleanly. Esteban Ocon out of the session immediately. I don't know what's happened with him there. That's the second retirement of the weekend for the French Red Bull driver, and as we get tagged by Piastri a little bit there through the corner, he decided to go for a gap that wasn't there. Let's see what happened with Esteban Ocon. Away from the line, he's the Red Bull right at the back, and you can see that he pulls to the inside and then just immediately starts slowing down. Obviously couldn't get it going, some kind of engine failure off the start, maybe he revved it too hard on the start, not sure, but that is going to be Esteban Ocon out for the second time this weekend. Now, as we continue on lap 21, you can see we go off the track there, but we managed to get away with it in no small part due to the fact that the safety car has come out. I don't know if maybe somebody got damaged or something like that, and that's why the safety car came out then, as opposed to when Ocon actually DNF'd. But as all safety cars come out, they all must come into the pits as well. And eventually at the end of lap 23, that was exactly what happened. So we will see now for the last 6 laps of this race if we can hold on to a victory here in Qatar. This would be absolutely unprecedented scenes for us. We've never even come close to getting a victory in Qatar before. I'm not even sure we've scored points in Qatar before in a Grand Prix. I know we've scored them in the race before, but last time out, you know, we got that sprint victory and then we finished something ridiculous like 17th in the race due to the high tyre wear and the high tyre temperature. If this works, and this seems to be working, I can only, you know, sing the praises of the guy on F1laps.com whose setups I use religiously, a user called Zach10. Shout out to Zach10, because his setups have suddenly made me feel uber competitive in this career mode once again. Lando Norris challenging us to the inside here, and we do manage to hold him off for the time being on lap 27. Only a few laps left to go, and Lando Norris seems to be hungry for this victory. I thought it might be Piastri, still in search of his first victory this season, but no, it's Lando Norris who's managed to get ahead of his former McLaren teammate, and now he makes the move up into P1 on the penultimate lap. But we know how fast I can be through this section, and once again we go for the switchback of dreams on Lando Norris, and we actually manage to make the move work. Even though we're on 30% worn soft tyres, it doesn't matter very much to me. I will still be the cornerer of your nightmares, as it were. And Lando Norris now, he's only got one more lap to get ahead of me. Here he comes to the inside once again. Is he far enough ahead to make this move work? We brake much later than him on the outside, and with these superior tyres, with the superior downforce, we manage to keep him at bay. Lando Norris, I think, now is probably going to have to try and do something quite impressive if he wants to get this victory. However, I was a little bit concerned still, because as I'm sure, you know, I've mentioned this quite a lot, we are not particularly fast in a straight line. It's a long run out of the final corner to the finish line. It's like 3/5 of the entire straight before you reach the finish line. It's not like Barcelona where the line comes up immediately out of the final corner. So Lando Norris actually has a legitimate chance to overtake us on the line here, and there will be very little rather that we can do about that. So we will see Lando Norris closing the gap certainly very, very quickly, pulling to the inside, but we are going to win the Qatar Grand Prix.
Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
Welcome then to the podium, our top 3 drivers. What a great effort from them today in a very difficult race.
So we managed to bag our first victory in Qatar. What a race we were able to mastermind there. We had no issues with tyre overheating this time either, which was absolutely brilliant. It is Lando Norris that takes P2 there. Another podium for Oscar Podium Astery, who has had more P2s and P3s this season than I think any other driver, but yet to get that elusive win in this season. Yes, he's had wins in previous seasons, but this season it just doesn't seem to be materialising for the Australian as he takes yet another P3.
Robinson increases their championship lead. So let's have a quick look at how the drivers' standings have changed. After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
I have to give it to Robinson.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. The owner drivers team moved to the top of the table. It was also a strong Grand Prix from Haas F1 this weekend. Fantastic work from the American team to move themselves further up the table. I'm equal parts exhausted and elated with this weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for the next one.
Surely we've got this one in the bag now. Surely there's no way we let this one slip away from us. We're leading Oscar Piastri by, I think it's 105 points now. That means if we outscore him by 7 points in COTA, aka we win the race and he comes second, well, any situation in which we win the race in COTA, as long as he doesn't get the fastest lap and come second, we can win the championship there. We can win the championship with 4 races to go, potentially. This season has been, you know, Max Verstappen 2023, Lewis Hamilton 2020 levels of domination. Lewis Hamilton 2020, he missed a race, but he'd already won the championship by that point, so it didn't even matter that he was missing that race. It was absolutely unreal levels of domination. This is, you know, Michael Schumacher 2000 to 2004 levels of domination. Nobody is even getting close to us. But the thing is that we're not dominating these races. I think that's the ultimate thing. We're just getting the results. But in this race, you know, Oscar Piastri at one point looked like he was going to maybe take the victory off me. Leclerc looked like he might take the victory off me. In the sprint, we had Lawson. Norris, to the end of the race, was still putting pressure on us. And that, I think, is the ultimate thing here, is that we've just had a really, I don't want to say lucky, because I don't think it's been lucky, but, you know, we have been on the right end of a result that could have gone the other way. Pretty much all of the victories I've had this season, apart from the one in Japan, which obviously was an incredibly dominant victory for me, there was a realistic possibility that somebody else could have won that race. This is my 8th race win of the season now. If you take 7 victories away from me and say I finished P2 in all of those instead, all of a sudden you're subtracting, what, 50 points from me or something like that? And now that I say that out loud, I realise that that would still put me in the lead of the championship by 50 points. So maybe we are having too dominant a season. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that I'm dominating too much, that it's becoming boring? It's one of those things that's like how there's that meme of Lewis Hamilton saying that Vettel's dominance could bore fans, only to then go on and dominate the World Championship for almost 7 years consecutively, apart from when he had a bit of an off year. But anyway, yeah, this is turning into absolutely unprecedented levels of domination. I've actually had a look through the F1 calendar now to see how many races there are that I haven't won over my career, and there's only 10 left, and 3 of them, which is Qatar, Mexico City, and Abu Dhabi, those ones are still yet to come on this calendar as well. So there's a chance that we could cut it down to potentially just 7 races on the calendar that I've never won at, which if that were the case, I think that's what I would be targeting next season. But yeah, for now, that is pretty much all I have to talk about. So that is going to be it for this video. Next up is Qatar. If you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.